Hola, ¿cómo están?
Good.
You guys are the four that came up with Pero Like, right?
I mean, it's a complicated story, but I think it's
Wait, the margaritas are here. Let's
Hey.
The story of Pero Like really starts right here.
with the margaritas.
The Pero Like family. Pero Like
Salud.
family.
Who are the originals? Like, was it always the four of you guys?
We came together like the Avengers, because Jasmine and I were in the same intern class in video.
Pero Like kind of was created out of frustration. When I first came onto Buzzfeed, all I wanted to do was do Latino content.
So Norberto was at Buzzfeed first, and he's the reason that I went to Buzzfeed. I had seen his stuff, and I loved what he was doing.
Okay.
And he was doing Latino stuff that was very specific and really funny. He was not only doing Latino stuff, he was doing it like in a mix of a lot of other stuff. So I was like, oh, that's cool that he gets to basically like write whatever he wants and talk about his identity, but in a really multifaceted way. So if he hadn't been at Buzzfeed, I don't think I would have been to Buzzfeed.
And to add to that, I think there was something to be said that we knew that there was an audience out there for Latino content. At that point, I had already written 26 tweets that only Mexicans would understand. We had done Selena weeks where we celebrated Selena for entire weeks. This content would do so well. So we knew that there was an audience out there for that. Slowly but surely, BuzzFeed kind of started changing a little bit to the point where I think our content needed a platform to be created in order for our Latino content to kind of come out of the trenches.
And also a space where we could talk amongst ourselves without having to explain stuff, because we didn't want to have a word in Spanglish and then have in parentheses, here's what this means, you know what I mean? One thing we did was we fought not to have Spanish in italics anymore. And that changed because we didn't want it to be different. We wanted to just be in the flow, conversational. We were we need to have a space where it feels like a club that we're all a part of.
And just to put it in context of what was going on in social media, there was no Instagram when we were doing this. There was no videos on Facebook at the time.
Mostly all YouTube.
Yeah, it was mostly just YouTube.
And
there
Vine.
was and Vine. BuzzFeed was the company to be at. There weren't, it's not like how it is now where it's there is
so
a lot of that
many.
content out there, but it wasn't. This was even before Oscar so white, that whole movement of wanting diversity in media, this was way before that. It's important to add that to the context because it was us four, we were hungry for that because it wasn't anywhere.
And we're old is also
we're old.
But who talked to who? Who was the first one that dijo, okay, mira, we gotta make this happen?
I think it just happened in separate points, because for me it was me and Jasmine in video, and then it was Alex and Norberto.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that up until that point, I believe that BuzzFeed wasn't really promoting our Latino content anymore onto their Facebook pages, onto their social media platforms. So I remember hitting up Alex being yo, Alex, we need a Facebook page. And I think at that time we were wary about making a BuzzFeed Latino type of deal because we were well, it's all BuzzFeed, it doesn't matter. It can all just live under one umbrella. But then that means that, okay, we then needed to, fight for our own place at the table. We wanted the table. We wanted to
our
be
own table.
To run our own platform and be able to do that. Editorial content, the stuff that we wrote on BuzzFeed.com, this new platform that we were creating wouldn't have survived without video. And that's where it kind of the Avengers came together.
And I remember that so well because, again, Jasmine and I were in the same intern class. I was oh my God, you're Latina, I'm Latina. So we started just chatting and figuring out let's pitch this and that. And I think, wasn't our first video the Sábado Gigante video?
Yes, oh my God. It was Sábado Gigante had just announced that they were gonna end. So we were let's have people watch Sábado Gigante.
To Sábado Gigante and Chacal de la Trompeta and all the craziness that was that show.
Yeah. And I dressed up as a chacal. We were let's go all out. We just wanted to this was our one little Latino video that we were able to do. So we're gonna go all out. I always tell people the only Latinos that worked there when Jenny and I started was Jenny and I, Curly, who at the time was a receptionist, and the janitor,
and Claudia.
Wendy, and Claudia.
Wait, we're missing one more. He also worked with he and Claudia.
Leo. But I think it was me and Jenny and Curly, who was the receptionist at the time, we just became really close.
Yeah, we became really close.
Because you just Jenny and I didn't have anything in common if we really look at it, but it was that instantly, I was that's my sister.
So I'm pretty sure when y'all saw Curly that he worked on the front desk at the time, you know, it was like a family already.
Yes, yeah.
Am I
He was
right?
one of my first friends there.
Yeah.
When I
No
came
way.
in to interview, the first face I saw was Curly.
No way.
Yeah.
And I already it's funny because even Curly back then working in reception, he was already well known because
Yeah.
he had already been in a bunch of videos. His lunch announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah,
back
that's
in the day.
what he told me. He got on a skateboard. He's like, lunch, everybody.
And I was like, lunchtime.
Jasmine and I were very frustrated at the time because we didn't feel like our voices mattered. When we would pitch ideas, like sure, they would let us do it, but there was like this hesitation and this kind of like, I guess. Again, it was a general sense, even walking in and being the loudest people there, just like.
We're the loudest people still.
Yes, I know. When I brought Gadiel in, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It did. I felt like othered in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And sometimes I felt embarrassed. Like some of my, like, one of my videos was about if people acted like they weren't at the telenovela, like regular
Yeah.
people. And I had like my husband fighting on the floor with
Oh,
this
I
other
remember
actor.
that.
And it was very dramatic. And I should say that before we came into the picture, back then, BuzzFeed, in terms of acting, it was very just natural. People just played themselves. We started introducing actual characters and like people wearing wigs. I was mortified, not only thinking like, how's the audience gonna take this, but also how are our own peers gonna take this?
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah.
And are they gonna accept this Carol Burnett type shit?
For example, on the editorial side of things, we had managers who understood what we were doing and managers who had no idea what we were doing.
Yes.
And part of that was like, just trust me to know what I'm doing. Like, trust me to know that I can speak about my own personal culture and I can actually, you know, make that happen.
You can make content that relates to our
Make
people.
content that relates to people and that's not explaining things to white people.
Yeah, you
that
don't-
it makes it just about us. Yeah, make content
For us.
for the culture, by the
By the
culture.
people.
I remember going over to the video side and being like, hey guys, you guys were actually like making some Latino content already.
There's a reason why we're shooting here. What I've heard, that this is the spot that you guys came together, drank, and discussed ideas, am I right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
I think we came here to vent our frustrations.
We don't want to dwell a lot of the times on the people that were stopping us. There's also like amazing managers that made it happen on their end and on our end.
Can we shout out some of those managers?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to shout out Andrew Gauthier for being somebody who kind of helped out from the beginning. I thought that was somebody like
he
who
understood what we were trying
understood
to do.
what we were trying to do. Ben Smith was somebody who also tried to understand what we were doing. Aaron LaRosa, you know, I think was somebody who also like understood that this was something important and this is something that was worth fighting for.
Summer
And-
Ann on the social end.
Yes.
On our end, it was Caitlin
Caitlin
Cowie. Yeah,
Cowie.
she was like an angel. She was the manager of the identity team. She wanted to help us go viral and all that, of course, because that matters. But
Yeah.
it was like, do it in your
It
voice.
was like, for her, it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, go. I
wow.
trust you. This is great. She loved it. And I think on the video end, if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have gotten that far.
Yeah.
Wow.
The four of us had to kind of get together and create content to prove to the higher ups
To prove,
that
yeah,
that this content can actually happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We created vines, we created articles, we created listicles, we created videos together, we co-wrote, we did a lot of stuff together on work hours and off work hours, like during weekends,
was
to
like-
make sure that this is something that we can test out. All right, people are responding to this stuff. The vines with the abuelita, like that to me was like, yo, this is testing ground for stuff that we can actually make
Yeah,
happen.
because if it did well, then we're like, we can make a whole video out of this.
So it's one of those things where we needed our own platform. We needed to be able to have Latinos run their own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that this can work.
I remember we would do stuff and, you know, we would make a video and we were like obsessively like, look at the comments and all that. But because BuzzFeed was known for making certain type of content, even our own people were like, who's that white boy that made this video? What do they know about
They
Mexican
were very
food? What do they know?
distrusting of us.
Yeah,
at
it was
first.
a distrust, which it's like it makes all the sense. It's like
Right.
who works behind the camera. So it's like that was another motivation to have our own platform because then it's like you know who's making it. Like
And also, if we did well, that meant more hires. That meant that like, cause
More
you know,
Latino will come in.
Yeah.
exactly, and all Latinos from like different places. You know what I mean? Because like Jenny and I are Cuban, Norberto and Jasmine are both Mexican from California. So like we have our lanes. You know what I mean? So, but if we did well, that meant we could hire more people to tell more stories, and then like the bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You know?
So
We're not Gadiel over.
yeah, you did.
Dominican plátano life, bro.
You guys had all these frustration, and then there has to be a certain time that y'all be like, vamos a crear esta página.
There was like trial periods of
The
like we had a
sprints.
test, and they used to call it sprints, where it was like, so shout outs to the managers that supported us, and they would organize these sprints where it was kind of like we had to prove ourselves, like.
And at that time, you already had the idea that you wanted to create a Latino page.
Yeah, I think that was the direction.
To me, it came from the comment that a manager had told me. They had told me that Latino content was niche content. That I remember being the day that I remember being like, okay, we need our own table.
Remember we had a meeting about it, and we pitched the idea of let's have a Facebook page, it's ours. At that time, we didn't have a name. We had kind of like a placeholder name, and they were like, maybe. Basically was the answer that we got. And then we were like, you know what? We need video. So that's when we started talking also to Jenny and Jasmine. We had seen the work that they were doing, and we knew that they would be excited about this. And so then the four of us now were like, okay, so we have like editorial, we have video, we can do social stuff. We're getting more powerful. You know what I mean?
Like we had to work in numbers in order for us to have more power and say.
Yeah.
And so we did. A lot of my fondest memories was trying to get this off the ground, because we would go and like prop hunting together and like.
Yeah, when you see a video of like things that happen at a quinceañera, we had to literally like throw a quinceañera like
outside of the Buzzfeed logo.
Yeah.
We got a dress.
all the stuff.
We got a quinceañera dress for
Yes.
Jessica.
Ustedes tenían una pasión, like you guys were like, we need to make this happen. If we don't do it, nobody else will. Am I right?
We started to just kind of connect with everybody else that was passionate about Latino content.
Yeah, no, we went above and beyond to prove ourselves. With
Yeah,
it.
and then like, and I think for me, like the vision that I think what we wanted was to do that, to build the kind of like the Latino Megazord, right? Entire like battle-like network, and the video component was super important in all of this. Like without the video component, this don't exist.
Wow. The name, pero like dope name. Who came up with it?
I want to say it was you.
I think I did.
It got to the point where it was like people were saying that we could have a page and all that.
Yeah.
And we would have brainstorms and it's just like nothing fit. Everything
Do you remember what
seemed
the original
corny.
name was?
Buzzfeed Soul.
Soul was like-
yeah. And I just remember being here and we were like pretty drunk. And I don't know, but I'm like just stuck. And I think
My
Well,
best
we-
ideas come when I'm drunk.
yeah, no, yeah. I wanted it to be like a natural saying. That's like a saying that we already all say, like whether you're from Miami, New York, San Francisco, Texas, like we wanted it to encompass all of us.
And it's Spanglish.
And it's Spanglish. And it's like, for us, we always wanted it to be like BuzzFeed is like, we represent all the cousins, the cholo cousin, the chonga cousin, the nerdy cousin. So it was like a name that we all just relate to. It comes naturally when we're talking.
I also love that it's like the beginning of a beautiful sentence.
Yeah.
You can literally talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
Pero like, it felt weird asking for so much. Felt weird to ask for our own table. And it always felt like we had imposter syndrome. That maybe we're not good enough. Maybe we're not good enough to do this on our own.
Yeah.
Right? And by asking for these managers to give us our own platform, sometimes it felt like we were asking too much, right? Like we were like, oh no, we might as well just do the same content that you consistently do and just leave it at that. There was a fear of taking that leap. It's not only that we're making content, right? We're not doing nerdy content. We're not doing celebrity content. We're doing Latino content. This is personal to us because this talks about our identities. This talks about our families' identities. This talks about our communities. And it's a big responsibility to be able to do that. And the thing is, while you get criticisms from the white people being like, I don't get what this is, I don't understand it, you also get criticisms from the Latino community being like, you know what, you a fake Mexican. This ain't how Mexicans talk. This ain't how Mexicans eat a fucking taco al pastor.
Salvadorians don't cut their
pupusas.
What was it that kept you guys going, even though you felt that?
The audience.
Yeah, the audience. I think all of us, before we were at BuzzFeed, Latino content was what we were already doing.
Yeah.
I've always had the mentality of like, I want to work at a space like BuzzFeed to like learn all the game and take it to my people. Like,
Yes.
let me learn it all, and like, how is it going to go back to my community? Like, I think they hired 4 stubborn ass people that were like,
Having each other's backs and like, yes, we're stubborn, but in a good way, because again, the videos were doing well. Yes, we received our critiques. That's natural. It's the internet. And especially Latinos, in the very beginning when there weren't even that many Latino content creators in general on YouTube. I'm not talking about Latin America. I'm talking about Latinos in the US that are making this like in the hyphen type content. There wasn't a lot of that. So imagínate, there's only like a couple of us making these videos. The audience assumes that we're like this giant team of 50 people.
And it's only.
So they're like, when are you gonna do a video about Ecuadorians? Or how come this and how come that? And we're here like, okay, oh God.
We gotta get the
Calling
Ecuadorian.
our friends, hey, you know an Ecuadorian? Yeah.
We did not have a lot of resources. We did not have backing. We did not have even faith. You know?
Wow.
But it was the audience. We know, they were eating it up. They loved it. They were like, I'm so glad that this exists. So it was because of the audience, and I feel like our support system within our grupito that gave us that.
When did you guys knew that Pero Like was a success?
If I can be real about this, I always knew it was a success, and it was gonna be a success. Part of it was because, again, the Latino audience was there, and they were very, very supportive. So by the time it came around that, you know, Pero Like was gonna be a thing, not only were like everybody like Latino and Buzzfeed like coming out and congratulating us for this, but we also knew that this was a good time. This was a good opportunity to be like, you know what, we're pulling the trigger on this Latino platform, and that's what's gonna happen. And then by the time like we started seeing videos, the Quinceañera video I think was one of the first ones.
A lot of viral hits.
That like really cemented it as like, yo, we're here and we're here to stay.
Looking at Pero Like now, like is this something that you guys envision?
To me, like, I'm proud of Pero Like, because we always wanted it to be like, we're like a family. Like, I stayed at Curly's house last night to be at the shoot, you know, like, we were at Jenny's wedding, like, and now seeing like where you guys are going, like, that was like, I feel like one of our dreams was that this was a launching pad for Latino talent. I'm very proud of that, because I feel like there is a family on camera and it's like that off camera.
Yeah, we watch your videos and we're proud.
Yeah.
It's true though. It's just like seeing people be themselves and be creative and be funny and be serious and talk about serious issues too. Like, that's so gratifying.
And you know what? We couldn't have done it without you guys. If you guys were never in the fight from the very beginning, I don't know where we would be at right now.
When you're the only Latino person in that all-white room, you gotta be the one to speak up. That's what the four of us did. And then what was so great about it is that, you know what, we had it kickstarted and y'all took it to another level.
But y si ustedes, y'all would have never lit that fire from the very beginning, we wouldn't have that today. And that's why I wanted to make this video. We wanted to make this video to honor you guys for paving the way for the rest of us. Gracias.
Ay, thank you, Gadiel.
¿Ustedes quieren dar un abrazo o qué? ¿Cómo que hacemos esta vaina?
Oh, wow.
A ustedes y a Pero Like.